Right, so you guys can see me. Awesome. All right. Welcome, everybody. I am Coach Christina. Get myself all cold where I'm at. And we are going to have our live training for this week. We haven't been up on live trainings. I posted the podcast that was on last week. The Mindset of Matter is growing like crazy. We're actually looking for new staff right now. And so it's been a little nuts. So I appreciate your patience. But we are going to get right into it. So some of you are going to be watching this recorded. Others of you may be watching this live. And let me do this. Let me have the Facebook group up just in case anyone has any questions who is watching this live on Facebook. So let me go Facebook. Just up here. Perfect. Okay, so I can see anyone who is watching. All right, so today we are talking about a topic that I would say was a big contributor to a lot of my clients' issues with food and their bodies, and a lot of other areas of their lives, and that is codependency. And so today we're going to talk about what is codependency. We are going to also talk about the 5 core symptoms, or the things that tend to get, we'll say, out of whack, if you will. When we are dealing with codependency, we'll talk about how that then affects us in adulthood, how it affects our relationships with food in our body, of course, interdependence and what it is, and steps to achieve self-acceptance. And so this is a really heavy topic because for a lot of you, you have gone through your life looking for external validation or external means to understand or experience your reality, which we'll talk about here in a sec. And this is due to issues with your emotional, how you were taught how to be emotional, how you were taught to express yourself, and so on. And so for some of you, this is deep rooted, and it's stuff that until we get a hold of it, we're going to struggle with it for most of our lives. And the problem with that is oftentimes we punish ourselves and our bodies because of it, and or we turn to food as a means to feel. And take this off real quick. So as most of you know, I am a licensed marriage and family therapist, and I specialize in working with women all over the world on their relationships with their bodies and food, because the women that I work with, they have tried all the diets. They've done all the things. They can Google all of that. But because of their struggles with whatever it is, expressing their emotions, not expressing their emotions, trauma, whatever that looks like, they do not put themselves first. They do not make themselves a priority. They are stuck in autopilot, and autopilot is them punishing themselves. And so I created Mindset of Matter, which is an online program, and we focus on the collaboration of science and psychology. We teach our clients how to create lifelong sustainable habits while also getting them to a healthy weight, a confident feeling in their body, a confident feeling in their worth, teaching them how to move their bodies in ways that doesn't add additional stress to their bodies, but helps them to look, feel, and have it, look and feel their best and have a ton of energy. And so we do one-to-one individualized coaching as well as self-paced coaching programs. Our top tier coaching program is the entry into our program, because we want to make sure that when you leave us, that we've cleared out all the junk. And for most of my clients, they've gone from our top tier program and graduated down into our self-paced programs and are still with me 2 years later. And that's just because, we really do care about our clients' outcomes and them and their families and all of that. And so that is why oftentimes I talk on here. And for some of you, you're coming over from the bigger group. I used to do these trainings on the bigger group, and I stopped doing them there because there's so many people in that group. That group is, we're now just only posting more like simple information in that group. Plus, there was a lot of other coaches and people who, like they unfortunately would take our stuff. So I was like, okay, we're gonna bring this down. We're gonna just have our smaller, more intimate group. So this is where these live. This is also only going to be where our Q&As are. And so you're in the right place. But codependency is what we're here. So those suffering with codependency have boundary and control issues, low self-worth, as well as physical, emotional, and psychological consequences because of those things. This in turn makes people reach for food and change their bodies or punish their bodies to fill the voids that they experience. Again, we're going to be talking about what is codependency, the 5 core symptoms of codependency, how this affects you in adulthood and your relationships with your body and food, what interdependence is, and how to achieve self-acceptance. So codependency is defined as a psychological condition or a relationship in which a person manifesting low self-esteem and a strong desire for approval has an unhealthy attachment to another person, often a controlling or manipulative person, or looks to other people or things to prove their worthiness. And I say things because I can't tell you how many people think that they're going to feel a sense of self-acceptance on the other side of their, magic number on the scale. And unfortunately, that's not true. And so this is the codependency model. This comes out of the PMLD post-induction therapy model. Codependency is rooted in developmental trauma, meaning negative experiences you went through during childhood and adolescence. It may be over abuse, neglect, or stress, or even subtle things. Subtle stressors are a parent who was out of the house a lot because they were working all the time. They weren't doing that out of spite of you or to hurt you. They were actually doing that to provide for you, but it can feel like abandonment. Birth order, family issues, sibling issues, parents' level of presence or lack thereof can all be ways to contribute to neglect or abuse. I shouldn't say that, contribute to trauma. So I explain here, trauma in this case is anything less than nurturing or anything that is shaming. And so here's the hard part is that could be anything. And so for you parents out there, like, how do I keep my child from not being codependent? There's things you can do, but remember, it's their perception. And so really listening to them, understanding their experience, and having those open conversations will give you better information on how to approach them. And so you can see down here, the roots of the tree are trauma, anything less than nurturing or anything shaming. Then we have the trunk of the tree, and off to the side here, this branch of core issues. And these 5 core issues are the areas that a person who experiences codependency tends to fall into extremes on. And so we're going to talk about the extremes in regards to the 5 of these. And then let me tell you, so every one of these, so self-esteem, for example, falls on the extreme of less than or better than. So someone can act very less than, talk shit to themselves, feel disgusting in their body, think that everything is their fault. And they live over there for a long time until something's like, no, I'm not doing this anymore. And poof, they swing over to better than. That's to help protect them. That's to look at everyone else, make everyone else the issue. They're the victim. It's not their fault. It's everyone else's fault. Until they do something to hurt someone else and whoosh, they swing back. And every single one of these core issues lives on an extreme. And this swinging back and forth can make people feel like they're going crazy. And so because we need to, because they need to manage this extreme thinking, they tend to turn to things to help numb or cope. And those things are alcohol, money, sex, shopping, relationships, drugs, gambling, and food. And oftentimes, for most people, the food part is an easy escape. It's not illegal. You have to have it every day. And this is where a lot of my clients struggle. Are you codependent? So obviously a lot of you are going to be watching this, but these are questions to ask yourself. Do you avoid confrontation? Do you neglect your needs to attend to another's first? Do you accept verbal or physical abuse by others? Do you take responsibility for the actions of others? Do you feel shame when you make mistakes? Do you feel more than your share of, or do you do more than your share of work, home, or in your organization? Do you ask for help? Do you need others' validation to feel good about yourself? And validation could be verbal, it could be sexual. I see that a lot in women. It could be obviously the um, like appreciations or like awards and stuff like that. Do you feel you need to meet societal norms to be accepted? Do you think everyone's feelings are more important than your own? And do you suffer from low self esteem? If you answered yes to most of those, it's a good chance you could be codependent. So I want you to go back. So this is something for my clients. I want you to go back for the reason why you signed up for the Mindset of Matter and think about your initial why. As I run through the following symptoms of codependency, I want you to think about if any of the symptoms stated connect with some of your current goals. So these are for my clients or for those of you thinking about why you want to change your body or become healthier. I want you to think about these. I want you to think about these. Okay. So oftentimes I'll have women come in and they, I just want to lose weight. I want to feel more confident. I want to look better for my husband, or whatever it is. They think that their self-worth will increase simply by reaching the scale goal. Or if their husbands will show them attention and desire, that their low self-worth will go away. And those are all very codependent behaviors or thoughts, right? And so when someone comes to me though and says, look, I want to be able to run with my kids and show them what a healthy relationship with food is. I want to show them what a healthy body looks like. That's not a twig. That's a different story. But oftentimes we want to change our external selves in hopes that we change our internal selves. But like I've said to you guys many times, and our motto at the Mindset of Matter is what you say in the mind, you see in the mirror, whether that's actually what you see or what you're thinking. Okay, so signs and symptoms of codependency. So the 5 core symptoms of codependency. So this is a chain of symptoms that characterize codependence, and they're known as the core or primary symptoms. And they describe how codependents are unable to be in healthy relationships with themselves and others. The core symptoms of codependence include experiencing difficulties with self-esteem and self-love, setting functional boundaries with other people and protecting oneself, owning one's own reality, thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and identifying who one is, addressing one's adult needs and wants and manifesting those needs into self-care difficulties, and being moderate or contained. So some of those might be like, what? I don't understand. So let me go through each. So low self-esteem. Self-esteem is defined as feeling competent and able to cope with many challenges that life brings. You also feel that you are worthy of happiness. You achieve happiness, and how you achieve happiness is what you can lead to either high or low self-esteem. Instead of meeting your own needs, however, and developing self-esteem, codependents focus on meeting the needs of others. Instead of figuring out how you feel, you get caught up in how others feel. You wind up taking care of others instead of taking care of yourself. And that leads to needing to control others so that you can feel okay, which then leads to low self-esteem and pain. This is how codependency and low self-esteem go together. A codependent self-esteem is based on how someone else judges them. Instead of taking care of their own needs, they're worrying about what someone else is doing or thinking. When you can't solve your own problems and take responsibility for yourself, or when you can solve your own problems and take responsibility for yourself, then you can start feeling good. And as I said, it's not just low self-esteem. It can also be, it can also be this, what is happening here? Apparently someone's listening to me. It could also be this, both are low self-esteem, but you could also take the better than role, where you just start talking shit about everybody else or what everyone else is doing to you or not doing to you. That is still a sign of a poor relationship with yourself. Self-denial. A codependent person often prioritizes others' well-being over their own. They may deny their own needs for rest, emotional support, and self-care. This is most of my clients. They may feel guilt or anxiety when asserting their own desires. And codependent people can feel uneasy when others offer support. Perfectionism. Codependent people often project an image of self-reliance and competence. It is common for people to take on more responsibilities than they can handle. When they make an error or receive criticism because they've taken on too much, they may grow insecure. Control issues. Well, let me go back to perfectionism and this idea of like self-reliance and competence. There is a concept called relaxation remorse that I see in a lot of my clients, that they just keep going, keep going, keep going because they're so addicted to this external validation that they take on so much at the expense of their own energy and self-worth, or and like health, like their own um, mental, physical, emotional health. And they get, they hit these terrible lows. And then what do? Instead of recognizing I've taken too much, they berate themselves. Control issues. A codependent person may link their own self-worth to others' well-being. If a loved one fails, let me do this real quick, guys. Here we go. A codependent person may link their own self-worth to others' well-being. If a loved one fails, a codependent person may feel as if they've failed themselves. Their attempts to make others' lives better may shift into controlling or possessive behaviors. Take a quick screenshot. And so when we put our self-worth into what another person does, we then feel like a failure, right? I think about parents and their children. Like, obviously, your child is a reflection of you, but at a certain point, your child has their own, they can make their own choices, right? And so when we put our worth into our children, if our children end up not doing so hot, we can then be very controlling and possessive. And so that is just one example of that control issue. Poor boundaries. This is a big one. Codependent people often feel responsible for others' happiness. They can have a hard time saying no or putting their own needs first. They may hide their true thoughts and feelings to avoid upsetting others. A need to save others. So we have poor boundaries, right? So they will put their happiness before others. They don't say no. They also, and not saying no is not just taking on responsibilities. I mean, these people can, I think of people who have been in sexual situations they did not want to be in, but they didn't want that person not to like them or whatever it was. So they didn't assert themselves, or they take on, responsibilities at work, or their spouse is always making the decisions, and in the back of their mind, they don't want to do the thing or go to the place, but they still do it. A need to save others. Codependent people may feel it is their duty to protect their loved ones from all harm. If a loved one does something wrong, they will likely try to fix the situation on the loved one's behalf. Such behavior can prevent others from becoming independent and learning from their mistakes, and may also enable abuse or addiction to persist the unchallenged. So I think of the helicopter parent. I think of the parent who doesn't allow their child to create their own reality, to have their own thoughts, feelings, values. That is a really important part of our development. And most times, do our thoughts and values reflect our upbringing and our parents? Sure, but not all the time. I work with a lot of women who really struggle with this idea that the way they think and maybe their culture thinks is not the same. It's not bad, it's just not the same. And so, this type of thinking, if their parents, in this case, for some of them, their parents' thinking was very, very abusive and controlling. And so they don't feel like they have a voice, right? And so it can be a very tough situation. Other secondary symptoms: hiding one's feelings, extreme submissiveness, compliance to avoid negative reactions, because we don't want people to not think we're okay. Engaging in emotional blackmail, avoidance of intimacy. And in this case, intimacy, I like to say, is into me, you see. It is how you share. It's not passion, which is the sexual side. Exhibiting negative emotions due to someone else's behaviors, anger, shame, guilt, self-loathing, depression, etc. Excuse me. Dependence upon a relationship for any feeling of self-worth. I see this often. Constantly seeking others' approval. Neglecting one's needs and obligations to try and help, fix, or rescue another. Making excuses for others' behaviors. Shouldering the blame as the cause or reason for behaviors. And avoiding confronting whether this is an addict or an abusive person about their problems. Okay. All right. So how does codependency relate to emotional eating or body image issues? Nice girls don't speak up. Nice girls take care and support others. These are just a few of the messages girls often receive as they are socialized. Often in adulthood, these ingrained messages turn into full-blown codependency. Years can go by, unmet needs build up energy, and they demand their attention, but without learning skills and setting boundaries, letting others feel their own pain, and making oneself a priority, food often becomes the hassle-free, soothing balm to take the edge off and release the pent-up energy momentarily. That's until guilt sets in. The connection between codependency and food is twofold. First, wanting to shrink yourself to be worthy of others in society. Stack this on top of the media, television shows, movies, music, all of that. It teaches us that we equate who we are and our self-worth with how we appear. Secondly, food offers temporary relief from pain. Let's go back to the top actually, because this idea of like my appearance shows my worth. But think about that. If I already feel like I'm undeserving and unworthy, and I'm still making these changes to my appearance, there's never going to be a good enough. I'm always going to be looking for more. Secondly, food offers temporary relief from pain, and how that leads codependents to overeat to avoid their pain of emptiness in their relationships. Or remember, we don't want to look a certain way to everyone else. And so oftentimes my clients, they don't show their stress, they eat their stress. They don't show their anger, they eat their anger. And one of my favorite quotes, and it's on my Instagram, you can screen save it, you can save it on Instagram, is feelings should be felt, not fed. And that's true. When we are codependent, we are in the following roles: victim, rescuer, and persecutor. So think about what I said about the body, right? Poor me, nobody likes me. I am this terrible person. Victim. Rescuer. Hey, what about losing weight? What if you just get really skinny, you're gonna be super hot and you're gonna feel great, and so on and so forth. Rescuer. Gets to that place, still feels like shit. It is like, see, you aren't good enough. You are not the person, you need to do more. You need to be better. Persecutor, right? Tell me how many times that's happened to you guys. So the following are a few examples of how this role plays out with food. Victim, you eat too much food. You gain weight and then can't eat what you want. No matter what you do, what diet you try, you can't lose weight. No matter how you eat, you seem to continue to gain weight, feel worse and worse. Rescuer, the dessert makes you feel better, especially the chocolate. It makes you feel loved. You feel comforted. You feel comforted. Where did it go? Okay. Nurtured when you eat certain foods. You reward yourself with food over the smallest perceived successes. Or someone may rescue you when you claim you can't lose weight. You've tried hard. It's not working for you. Go ahead and eat it. You're not losing weight anyways. You can try a new diet tomorrow. Persecutor. You're great at beating up on yourself. No matter what you do, you can't lose weight. Your tortured thoughts go something like this: I'm never going to lose this weight. It's too hard to lose weight. I hate myself because I can't control my eating. I hate myself because I'm not following this diet perfectly. I'm fat. I'm ugly. I hate myself. Pretty dramatic, but you and I both know this is a way you've thought in your life. And you've played every single one of these roles because of that lack of self worth and codependency. So, we talked about what codependency is, what the symptoms of codependency are, and how they relate to our relationship with our body and food. Now I want to talk about like how do we get from that extreme thinking place, our extreme self-worth, our extreme boundaries, our extreme ability to share our emotions, our extreme ability to help or not help others. We want to find this middle ground. And that is what we call interdependence. A lot of people think that independence is the way. Unfortunately, independence in this case says I'm needless, wantless. Whereas interdependence is the ability to help yourself, but also ask for help once you cannot do for yourself. Healing from codependency means rebalancing ourselves. Instead of focusing so much on what others need, we must consider our own needs and make them a priority. This doesn't mean that you should never consider what other people's needs or take them into consideration or take care of people. It just means that your needs are as important as other people's. And that if you don't take care of yourself, you'll end up depleted, resentful, and unfulfilled. Think about when you feel that way. What do you want to do? You want to reach for food. You want to eat all the things. You want to look in the mirror and talk about how bad you are. It's this constant toxic cycle because of the actions that you're doing. But rather than looking at, wow, I am putting myself last, then feeling like absolute shit and then beating myself up for it, instead of seeing that, you just continue to berate yourself, right? So how do we do this though? First and foremost, we have to give ourselves permission to feel and learn how to tolerate those feelings. I talk about this a lot on my webinars. I've talked about alexithymia, the inability to know what you're feeling or express what you're feeling, right? So get reacquainted with your feelings and needs. This can be a difficult process, especially if you don't have guidance. Feelings live in the body. Pay attention to the subtle shifts in your posture, gesture, moods, feelings. You may feel deflated, you may feel numb, angry, guilty, anxious, hopeless, shameful, right? Especially notice shifts from feeling confident to insecure, present to numb. Those are your signs. It's like a fire alarm going off. Next, identify the negative messages. Pay attention to your thoughts. Really notice what's going on, almost like you're taking a step back and just kind of looking at your thoughts go by. What you're saying to yourself about food, your body, your weight, what is it? What are you saying about yourself? Then ask yourself if any of the thoughts are really true about you, or do they come from the unconscious past patterns? I like to ask people, like, give me the evidence that you could bring to court, because most of the time the shit's made up in their head. And so when I say, is that evidence you could bring to court? And they're like, no. Okay, then that's fiction. I want facts, right? Next, ask yourself if you wish to continue to think this way. Now, the good news for you is you are in a mature brain now. Even though you have some emotional immaturities, you are a mature adult. So when we really use our logic and reasoning, we know, no, we don't want to talk to ourselves this way. I used to talk to myself terribly. And yes, do I still struggle with that? Absolutely. Usually I'm tired, overwhelmed, overdone. I'm acting in this way. And luckily for me, I know when that looks like, I know what that feels like, and I have to just take a step back. Especially because I don't want to talk to myself that way, right? Next, of course, take care of yourself. In order to stop being codependent, you need to start valuing yourself and respecting yourself. I say to my clients, if you're always working from a place of respect of yourself, you are prioritizing your self-care you're setting boundaries with others, and so on. Learn more about the things that make you happy and the kind of life that you want to live. Spend time doing things that you love to do. Work on overcoming negative self talk and replacing self defeating thoughts with more positive ones, more realistic thoughts. Also, be sure that you're taking care of your health by getting food, rest, and self care. But again, also make sure you're taking care of your emotional needs. Oops. Few more here. Resolve trauma and grief issues. Seek therapy with a competent therapist. Attend Codependence Anonymous meetings or work with a sponsor. Now, here's the beautiful thing about the Mindset of Matter is that my entire program, especially, well, I shouldn't say the entire program, the first 4 months of this program, we are working on becoming aware of how we're acting towards ourselves, thinking towards ourselves. What are the rules we put on ourselves? What is the thought distortions we put on ourselves? How are we handling our emotions? How can we begin experiencing them in a way that serves us? How can we build our self-care toolbox? How can we reframe the cognitive distortions that make us feel like shit? Then giving you skills to help you do that. This is exactly what this program is about. It's about healing all of the autopilot crap that you've been living on your whole life, and the reason why you cannot find that happiness that you think is going to come from the scale. Yes, do we help people lose weight? Absolutely, we do. But we do it in a way that is safe. We do it in a way that is not adding more stress to the body. And we do it in a way that's sustainable. Safe, no stress, sustainable, right? Identify your defense mechanisms and cognitive distortions. Something we do. Examples are all or nothing thinking, intellectualizing, projecting, perfectionism, shoulding, minimizing positives. I can go on and on. Recognize your triggers. Explore triggers that shift in your mood and your feelings. And then whatever your thoughts and feelings are about those triggers. So a trigger could be a gal walking by in a bathing suit. That could be, I need to look like that. That's the only way people are going to like me. I'm only worthy if I'm a size 2. And then really explore those thoughts, feelings, and memories if you have them. And then just some tangible things to do is, being someone who's codependent, you oftentimes put other people before yourself. And so really setting some boundaries around that. And these are some great rules that I love. I don't like to call them rules, actually. I'll say they're a guide. Do not help others if they can help themselves. If there is someone in your life that you're constantly doing for, but you know that they're capable of doing for themselves, let them. Even children, children might have this, Vaseline little thing. Be like, how do I open this? How do I open this? Their little brains are trying to figure it out. But if you take it from them, you've just stunted their growth. This is true in adult children and adults and partners and bosses and all of the people, okay? Do not help others if they don't ask you. I love, love, love my clients, but sometimes they go above and beyond for other people at the expense of themselves, which is another one here. They'll do something even if a person doesn't ask. I used to be so good at this. And so if someone doesn't ask you directly for your help, you don't have to help them. Do not help others if you're expecting something in return, right? We do things out of the goodness of our heart. We do not do things for a thank you, even though it's nice. But if someone doesn't say thank you, they don't say thank you. We don't help others so that the next time we're in that position, they'll help us, right? We don't help others, so whatever. And then lastly, I'm going to change the word regret here. Do not help others if you will regret it afterwards or feel poorly afterwards. If you don't have the emotional energy to do it, the physical energy to do it, you feel resentful towards them, you feel angry about it, whatever that is. Do not do it if you know that afterward you don't want to do it. So don't do it if you don't want to do it. Maybe that should be 5. I learned that the word no is a complete sentence. Set boundaries. Boundaries should look like doors. Doors can be locked up, deadbolted. They can have a screen. They can be closed. They can be cracked, and they can be wide open. The one we don't want to do is wide open. I want that screen on that door. Maybe the main door is open, but your screen is still there. And realize that your worth has nothing to do with what you weigh, what you accomplish, what you do or do not do. It is simply within your existence. I say that to people and they tear up, because if you have ever seen a newborn baby, we look at that baby and we are like, wow, what an amazing baby, amazing child. Babies eat, sleep, cry, and shit and pee. That's it. And right out the gate, they're not doing anything but crying. And we are just like, wow, it's so amazing. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to look a certain way, be a certain way, nothing. Why? Because their worth is in their existence. And so is yours. That doesn't change. So with that said, I want you to think about your why that we discussed earlier in this presentation. How would you change this so that the end results for you are not for what you want people to think, but what you expect of yourself? And that's it. That is our presentation. If you are watching this recording, you can tag me in it if you have any questions. And like I said, the mindset of matter helps our clients work through all of this. We are here to help you recreate your internal experience so that you are healthy from all aspects of your life. We also give nutrition guidance and movement guidance and habit guidance for daily sustainable health. And it is this collaboration between, mental, physical, and emotional health, and how to, create this environment of, like clients said it yesterday. I said connection, and she said calm. Oh, I'm gonna forget now. But it was brilliant. She's starting to feel this just connection in her body and this like symphony of herself. And it's a freaking beautiful thing. So hopefully you guys found this helpful. This will be listed on our features tab. Let me show you guys where that's at, because some people don't know. Oops, let me stop share and go to Facebook real quick. Here. Okay, so let me go to the group and then I'll share my screen again. So in the group, and again, I have two groups. I'm talking about the smaller group. The bigger group doesn't get these anymore. You will see up here, it says featured. And so it has our live Q&As, live training from January 5th, the weight loss challenge, so that's all at the top there. So if you ever need to find this, the other thing too is there's ever a topic that you need help with, you can use the search. So if you wanted to do boundaries, right, it's going to pull up my training on boundaries. So that hopefully is helpful. Thank you guys so much. I hope that you have a great rest of your day. Don't forget that we will be back on Monday for a live Q&A. I will post on Sunday for you to add your questions, and we will see you then. Take care.